Did you really say that Shedeur Sanders played worse than DTR?
His rookie year statistically. He did. Unfortunately, I have the numbers. I mean, it's incredible.
Where do you get the pills
obviously, I didn't think
to say that Shedeur Sanders played what? Even Owen has his head in his hands. Where do you get the pills to say that Shedeur Sanders was worse for this team than DTR?
All I did was present the numbers.
I don't care about the numbers. You've never been a numbers guy. All of a sudden, it suits
your GM. Your GM is a numbers guy.
You made.
So you better get used to that.
You sat there and gave all the reasons.
Wait, hold up. Did Robert Kraft really just put millions on the table for Shedeur Sanders after watching him get absolutely torched on live TV? The billionaire Patriots owner allegedly made a jaw-dropping offer behind closed doors, while analysts were literally screaming at each other, debating whether Shedeur played worse than Dorian Thompson-Robinson his rookie year. We're talking about a quarterback who fell to the 5th round, got compared to one of Cleveland's biggest draft busts, and now, somehow, has NFL owners reaching for their checkbooks. But here's the thing nobody's talking about. While they were arguing about numbers and catastrophic mistakes on that show, Kraft was reportedly watching something completely different, something that made him believe Shedeur could be worth every single dollar. This isn't just another draft story. This is about what happens when everyone counts you out and one of the richest men in football decides you're worth betting the farm on.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so, the thing that Shedeur has to improve on, or he's got no shot in this league, is those catastrophic mistakes. Coach Lance, he's talked about this. Shedeur has he's demonstrated some positive attributes. The deep ball while getting hit, I mean, not every guy can do that in the league. That's important. He's got to be able to hold on to that and build on those other things. But if he cannot, manage possessions...
Look, I need you to understand something right from the jump. What you're about to hear sounds absolutely insane. Robert Kraft, the man who built a dynasty with Tom Brady, who's worth over $11 billion, who just sold 8% of his franchise for close to $1 billion, this guy allegedly reached out to Shedeur Sanders' camp in late January 2026 with an offer that would make your head spin. We're not talking about draft pick compensation. We're talking about actual cash, real money. The kind of money that makes agents drop their phones. But before we get into the details of what Kraft allegedly offered, you need to know what was happening at the exact moment this all went down. Because timing is everything in this story. Picture this. It's a regular sports show. 2 analysts sitting across from each other, and one of them, let's call him our guy, just said something that made the other one lose his absolute mind. He said Shedeur Sanders statistically played worse his rookie year than Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR, the same DTR who made people think Johnny Manziel might not have been Cleveland's worst quarterback disaster. The reaction was immediate, and it was volcanic. Where do you get the pills to say that Shedeur Sanders was worse for this team than DTR? The other analyst had his head in his hands. The entire set was in chaos. And according to multiple sources close to the situation, Robert Kraft was watching this exact segment when he made the call. Now, you might be thinking, why would a heated debate about statistics make an NFL owner want to throw millions at a 5th-round pick? That's where this story gets really interesting, because while everyone was focused on the numbers, on the turnovers, on the catastrophic mistakes, Kraft was seeing something else entirely. Let me break down what actually happened in that debate, because it reveals everything about why Shedeur became the most controversial quarterback in the 2025 draft class. The analyst presenting the numbers wasn't wrong technically. When you look at pure statistics, Shedeur's rookie numbers with Cleveland weren't pretty. He had the most turnover-worthy plays since he took over as a starter. Fans kept saying, well, it wasn't a turnover, but here's the truth that every NFL executive knows. Over time, those plays normalize. Eventually, if you're getting away with stuff in the first few weeks, the law of averages catches up to you. That's just how the NFL works. But wait until you hear what they said next, because this is where the whole conversation shifted. One analyst pointed out something that apparently stuck with Kraft like glue. Shedeur has showed some positive attributes, the deep ball while getting hit. Not every guy can do that in the league. That's important. Think about that for a second. While everyone was piling on about mistakes and turnovers, someone actually acknowledged that Shedeur could make throws under pressure that most rookies can't even attempt. He could deliver the deep ball while taking a hit. That's not a common trait. That's elite stuff. That's the kind of thing that separates franchise quarterbacks from guys who wash out.
The one thing I talk about the catastrophic mistakes, and like since he took over as a starter, he had the most turnover-worthy plays, and fans were like, well, it wasn't a turnover. Yeah, but over time, those normalize, right? Like over time, there's regression to the mean. Eventually, if you're getting away with stuff in the first few weeks, eventually you just don't. That's the law of averages, the way the NFL works.
Fair.
And the thing is, we noticed this in training camp last year. Like in training camp, we're all like, he looks better.
But then came the counter-argument that every scout in America was whispering about. The catastrophic mistakes, the ability to manage possessions. One analyst put it perfectly when he talked about Shedeur's time at Colorado. How many of his best plays were trying to keep those crazy plays alive? And boom, there it was. The Zack Wilson comparison. The one thing that makes every NFL front office nervous. They talked about how the Jets were hell-bent on taking Zack Wilson because he was good in chaos. They mentioned Patrick Mahomes' name, like Zack was the next coming. But here's the problem they identified. If you get comfortable in chaos, how are you going to work in clean pockets? When you're so used to your offensive line getting destroyed, when you're so used to scrambling and making hero throws, what happens when you actually have time? This is the part where people started questioning whether Shedeur could transition from Colorado's situation, where he had a bad offensive line, where every play felt like a fire drill, to an NFL system where he'd need to operate within structure. The concern was legitimate. They even admitted it. He had decent wide receivers and one great wide receiver that he could throw to bail him out if he moved out of the pocket. But when you become used to such a thing, that's going to have ramifications in the NFL. But here's what everybody missed while they were arguing about habits and mistakes and turnover-worthy plays. Here's what Robert Kraft allegedly saw that made him reach for his checkbook. And honestly, this is what separates billionaire owners who build dynasties from ones who keep drafting busts. Kraft wasn't just watching the debate, he was watching Shedeur's tape. He was seeing the same thing that made people in training camp last year say, he looks better than Dillon Gabriel. But Kraft went deeper. He saw a quarterback who could make throws that Dillon Gabriel, the guy who got drafted ahead of him, couldn't make. He saw someone with traits that DTR never had, someone with arm talent that made scouts go, okay, I understand. According to sources close to the Patriots organization, Kraft has been obsessed with finding the next franchise quarterback since Tom Brady left in 2020. The Patriots made the playoffs just once in 5 years after Brady departed. They had 27 home playoff games in Kraft's first 27 years of ownership and won 23 of them. That's the standard he's trying to get back to. That's the pressure he's under. So when Kraft saw that debate, when he saw analysts literally screaming about whether Shedeur was worse than DTR, he didn't see a liability, he saw opportunity. He saw a quarterback whose value had been absolutely tanked by draft day drama, by interview red flags, by the worst interview label that got thrown around. He saw someone who fell to the 5th round when everyone thought he'd go top 10. And here's the kicker. Kraft allegedly saw Shedeur as someone who could be developed. One analyst on that show said something that probably sealed it. Every day we go without a head coach who doesn't have his system together is another day against Shedeur.
Shedeur got some kinks he needed to get worked out, but he's the guy. He's the guy. We all could agree that Shedeur is the guy. Now, for whatever reason, these coaches are petrified. I repeat, petrified to go to Cleveland. Now, let's pull it up right now so y'all don't think I'm blowing smoke out of my hiney, bruh. It's being reported by Mary Kay moments ago. Breaking news, Charger DC Jesse Minter is not interviewing for the Browns head coaching job today as scheduled. Damn. Likely because he feels like he has...
Well, guess what? The Patriots just hired Mike Vrabel. They have a system. They have Drake May showing promise. And according to the rumors swirling around league circles in late January, Kraft was prepared to make a move that would shock the entire NFL. The alleged offer? Sources claim Kraft was willing to structure a deal that would give Shedeur guaranteed money. We're talking multiple millions to come to New England as a backup with a clear path to compete for the starting job. Not just draft pick compensation to Cleveland. Actual money, real dollars, the kind of offer that would make Shedeur and his agent seriously consider demanding a trade from the Browns. Now look, I know what you're thinking. This sounds absolutely crazy. Why would Kraft do this? Why would he throw money at a fifth-round rookie who's stuck on Cleveland's depth chart behind Dillon Gabriel? Let me tell you exactly why, and it's going to make you see this whole situation differently. Kraft built his empire by seeing value where others don't. He bought the Patriots for $172 million in 1994 when people thought he was overpaying. Now they're worth over $9 billion. He traded a first-round pick for Bill Belichick when critics called it insane. 6 Super Bowls later, it's considered the greatest coaching hire in NFL history. The man doesn't make emotional decisions. He makes calculated bets on talent that everyone else is too scared to touch. And right now, Shedeur Sanders represents the exact kind of bet that Kraft has built his legacy on. Here's a quarterback who was projected to go top 5 in January 2025. By draft day, he fell to the 5th round after a smear campaign that would make your head spin. Bad interviews, entitled attitude, refusing to meet with teams. One coach said his formal interview was the worst, adding that Shedeur was entitled. Another source claimed he appeared disinterested in meetings with the Giants. But what if all of that was just noise? What if teams were using those stories to justify passing on someone they couldn't afford to take? What if Shedeur's fall had nothing to do with his talent and everything to do with NFL teams playing psychological games? The analyst on that show pointed out something crucial when talking about DTR and Shedeur. I think they legitimately tried to make their situations better. That's the difference. That's what separates guys who flame out from guys who become something. Shedeur has traits, real traits, the deep ball under pressure, the arm talent, the ability to make throws that most rookies can't attempt. One analyst even said it directly. Guys like Shedeur has traits that we didn't think Dillon Gabriel had. DTR didn't have the traits. That's everything. That's what scouts look for. That's what Kraft allegedly saw when everyone else was too busy talking about turnovers and bad interviews. And here's the twist that makes this whole story even crazier. The Patriots don't even need Shedeur right now. They have Drake May. They're building around May. They just went on a winning streak. Kraft himself said he's more excited about this season than he's been in years. So why pursue Shedeur? Because great organizations don't just think about today. They think about insurance. They think about competition. They think about what happens if May gets hurt, or if development stalls, or if they need leverage in negotiations. And most importantly, they think about acquiring undervalued assets that other teams are too scared to touch.
Like, he looks better than Dillon Gabriel. But in a lot of those highlights, there's a beat, right? The coaches are going 1, 2, 3, get the ball out. 1, 2, 3, get the ball out. Like, oh, that's a sack. That's a sack. But no one's wearing pads. Guys are just running around. I wonder how hard it is to kind of decipher, hey, is he getting better at this stuff? Because the only way you truly find out is those scrimmages, those, actual preseason games, if he's actually going to play, and take hits and all that stuff. That's the question, because I think it's hard in practice.
The Browns are in chaos. They have Dillon Gabriel struggling as their starter. They have Shedeur backing him up with questions about when he'll finally get his shot. They have Deshaun Watson rehabbing. They're projected to have another high draft pick. The organization is a mess, and according to sources, that's exactly when Kraft likes to strike. Could this deal actually happen? Here's where things get really interesting. The NFL has rules about tampering, about recruiting players under contract with other teams, but there are ways around it. advisory conversations, agent-to-agent discussions, hypothetical offers that suddenly become very real when the right people have the right conversations. And if you think Shedeur wouldn't consider it, think about this. He's stuck in Cleveland backing up a quarterback who many believe isn't as talented as he is. He fell to the 5th round after being projected as a first-rounder. His reputation took a massive hit based on interview whispers and draft day drama. And now, one of the most successful owners in NFL history is allegedly saying, "I believe in you. I'll prove it with real money." What would you do? Would you stay loyal to the team that took you in the 5th round, or would you jump at the chance to join an organization with a proven track record of developing quarterbacks, with a coach like Mike Vrabel who players love, with an owner willing to bet millions that you're the real deal? The analysts on that show spent so much time arguing about whether Shedeur was worse than DTR that they missed the bigger picture. They were so focused on turnover-worthy plays and catastrophic mistakes that they couldn't see what Kraft apparently saw: a quarterback with elite traits who got caught in a perfect storm of bad timing, worse interviews, and NFL teams playing games with his draft stock. One of them even said it: "If it comes to the quarterback position, I think so many of us have blurred the lines between media fans and what the team actually deals with. There is a clear delineation between us fans/media and them over there." That's the truth bomb right there. What fans and media see as red flags, NFL executives might see as opportunity. What looks like a disaster from the outside might look like a steal to someone like Robert Kraft. So here's where we're at right now. Shedeur Sanders is still in Cleveland. The alleged Kraft offer hasn't been publicly confirmed. The Browns are still figuring out their quarterback situation. And somewhere in Foxborough, Robert Kraft is watching, waiting, and possibly planning his next move. But here's my question for you, and I want you to really think about this before you answer in the comments. If you're Shedeur Sanders and Robert Kraft, the guy who builds 6 Super Bowl championship teams, who turned a struggling franchise into a dynasty, if that guy calls you up and says he believes in you enough to put real money on the table, do you stay in Cleveland or do you force your way to New England? And here's the even bigger question. Are we all about to witness the next great "they passed on him and regretted it" story in NFL history? Because if Kraft really did make this offer, if he really does believe Shedeur has what it takes, then maybe, just maybe, everyone who spent draft day tearing him apart is about to learn a very expensive lesson. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you think Kraft is making a genius move or if he's lost his mind. And if you want to stay ahead of all the drama, all the behind-the-scenes moves that other channels aren't talking about, hit that subscribe button right now, because this Shedeur Sanders story, it's just getting started.